And the people that don't take things seriously, I'm sure they would feel very different if it was one of their loved ones.
The people just need to work together
and get it done.
Yes.
I just say, just get it done.
Get it done. That's our motto to everything. So today I have a very good friend. A lot of people think that we're twins, but...
I know, right? one tall one and one short one.
But they haven't actually seen us when we're sitting next to each other. Maria is a oral hygienist. We've got plenty to talk about today.
We're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about how we actually became friends and, how it all happened. Let's go.
Well, I'm pretty sure I started stalking you on Instagram first. You probably started stalking me on Instagram.
I just remember a lot of people were always... either having the teeth whitening with you or having the teeth whitening with sparkling white. I was like, wonder who this lady is.
Absolutely. And I was sort of, interested. There was this newcomer on the market and I thought, right, who's this person that's come along and is doing a lot of whitening and a lot of all the stuff that, makes up a segment of what we do at the surgery.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, I'm going to find out a bit more about this girl. And then I started to inquire and learn more about your model. And I thought, hang on, this is really, really interesting. Like this is something that's not conventional and not... something that we're actually doing in our practice. I thought, I'm going to find out more about
What were you guys doing that was different to us?
In our business, we're following more of a traditional model. Again, it's a dental practice, so it has sort of rules, it has regulations, whereas you sort of buckled the curve a little bit and you went out, bought the element of mobile dentistry, even though it actually isn't classified as dentistry, but you brought that mobile element to it, whereas ours is purely focused in the actual surgery. Yep. And it is definitely something very different to what we were doing.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. But you guys are using the Zoom, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're
using Zoom, and you're using obviously a different product.
Yeah, and you're using up to 30%?
Up to, used to be 35%, now it's 25% hydrogen peroxide. And Alison uses 6%, but slightly different modes of action.
And what is the time frame that you guys do it for? So, like, we're doing it for about 2 hours.
Yep.
Are you guys doing it for about 2 hours as well?
It's between 3 to 4 rounds of 15 minutes each.
Okay.
So the actual whitening time would be anywhere between, let's say, 1 to 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
From start to finish.
I always get, a lot of our clients will say, what's the difference between Zoom and sparkling white? What is the difference on your side?
What's the difference? Zoom is using a higher concentration of peroxide that at that concentration is only available and only allowed obviously in a dental surgery. It's a Scheduled 4 poison. It's not accessible to anybody else that's not actually trained to deal with it. The actual mode of whitening is exactly the same. Does it whiten your teeth? Does 6% whiten? Does 25% whiten? Absolutely. 6% you might need to do it a little more often in order to maintain that whiteness. With the 25%, it might be more of a one-off style treatment.
How long are you guys whitening for? So you're doing it once a year?
Whatever the patient wants, okay? I'm very much pro maintenance as well, so all clients leave with maintenance kits as well, with
what
up
is
to 14%
CP or HP?
CP,
okay.
Right?
So the difference between CP and HP, we'll go into that, but so you're taking 14%
up
home?
to 14%, depending on how sensitive they are. Depending on how sensitive they are. But, at the end of the day, people ask me all the time, how long does whitening last? And I say to patients, how long is a piece of string?
I couldn't agree more.
Whitening will last however long you want it to last.
And
what you're eating and what you're doing and how often you go to the dentist. There is no one-size-fits-all model.
I couldn't agree more.
Doesn't agree. It doesn't work.
And you can't. And if you think that, even promoting, when we promote in marketing and stuff like that, people will say, how long is it going to last? I say, we have to treat every client as an individual because, you might last 4 weeks, you might last 6 months.
And people have underlying conditions that will often influence whether something will last or not. It's not for everybody. Some clients, some patients won't get the results that other people get. Everybody's different. And your tooth has got a natural sort of biological limit as to what colour it's going to go.
I couldn't agree more.
And it's not going to be
I think, you as a professional, and I've done a lot of teeth, to know what teeth are going to come up and what aren't going to come up.
Absolutely.
So, we always give... we take photos of all our clients before. We make sure that we are going to actually go out there and not waste our time and do their teeth. Or they're going to get the results that they're looking for. And honesty with teeth whitening is the best.
We do exactly the same in the surgery, and that's with anything though.
It's
not even just teeth whitening in the surgery. It's with any type of cosmetic procedure. We need to sit down and actually find out. We need to tune into the psyche of the patient as well and work out what is it that they actually truly want. Because what a patient sometimes tells us what they want is actually different to what they're going to get or what they think that they might want.
And they'll show us a photo and it will be some person who has veneers at
and sometimes like, well, hang on, that's not doable with the mode that you want to get there. And then we can go into that later with what they might want, but we need to really tune into what are they actually wanting.
Yes.
And that takes time. And
I could not agree more. Always, and one of the other things is about our companies, we always have dental cleans first. So we're working with you guys a lot, to be honest. And I think that's...
Well, you refer a lot of people to me, so it's great.
No, it's not even about referral. It's not about anything like that. I think if we're going to do a procedure and a treatment on somebody, it needs to be 100% the right thing. And I think there's so many steps before we can come there and actually give them the results that they want.
Yes.
If they don't have clean teeth, if they're having the gums where they're bleeding and they've got, the they got the gum disease and stuff like that.
I think it's a really good thing that you're screening all of that. A lot of people out there think that might not be happening. Now, obviously, going off topic here, knowing you personally, I know what you do behind the scenes. And I think screening it with the team that you've got behind you is really, really good to ensure that dentally they're in really good shape before you go ahead and proceed forward.
And that's the scary part about it, that there is so many other people doing it that aren't doing that behind the scenes. And I can understand the Dental Association. And, when we first met, it was like, there's a line between the two of us.
Yeah, our meeting was really interesting in the beginning. I specifically remember we said to each other, let's go out for dinner and catch up and let's have a chat. And I'm pretty sure we got kicked out of the restaurant by the end of the night because we got along so well. And I remember walking out of that restaurant thinking, this girl's tapped into a market that's unique, that probably or might not even otherwise actually go to a normal conventional dentist. And I just thought, what an incredible idea.
But do you know what we also realised? There is so much work for everybody. There is. We always talk about it. It's, there's different grades of whitening. There's different grades of dentistry. We're talking about the mobile dentistry the other day. How interesting is that? But that's like for 10% of the population.
Exactly. And I think as well, look, I cop this a lot because people know how friendly we are. People often say to me, well, you're in competition, right? Well, hang on a second. We both share a common fundamental, and that's teeth whitening.
Exactly.
Okay? However,
it's
that's
like us,
what
we share shoes and jackets
I know,
too.
right? But teeth whitening also makes up a segment of the overall aspect of dentistry. It's not everything that we do. Okay, it's a part of what we do.
Yes.
And the clients that I probably often see in terms of maybe demographic or and my demographics generally sort of like middle to let's say older would probably be different to your general demographic as well.
We've got 18
it's not
to
really
35.
competition at all. Like I've often said, there's plenty of work to go around for absolutely everybody. You just need to be confident with what you're doing and to be able to tap into those markets.
Exactly right. Yeah. So funny, the other day I was out in Penrith doing teeth whitening, and this girl had veneers and she had it done by Dr. Mark.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes.
And he said... she says to me, oh my God, it was so funny. I got the veneers on. And he goes, you'll go and get your teeth whitened by Alison. And yes, she can whiten veneers. And we had a little laugh. And he goes, because she has this idea that you can whiten veneers. And he's like, so make sure you go to her because I'm not doing it. And it was so funny. But that's the dentistry and Alison and the sparkling white.
And there's nothing wrong with it working,
Yeah.
Back to back. I haven't told you this yet, but I actually had a client in the other day who comes and sees me every 3 months, but actually had his teeth whitened by your Eastern Suburbs franchise, not too long ago, right? And he was stoked and his teeth looked amazing.
Yeah.
But he understands that he's happy to do that in the comfort of his own home, but needs to come and see me every 3 months for other gum issues that he's having.
Exactly right. And the other day we had Andrew with his sore
yeah, your partner. Yes, yeah.
Came and fixed him up within 24 hours.
That's it. I think, if you've got an open mind, without judgment, people can work together. And I think that's really important.
We have to, honestly. We're going to make the industry bigger. We have to all work together.
Yeah.
And I think that's... Even in teeth whitening.
Right now, with the pandemic and everything that's happened, it's all about like having each other's backs.
100%. Every single day, every single week on the when we're in isolation, once a week, Maria and I caught up and we went for a walk. 3 hour walk.
Certainly did. Yeah, 3 hour walks, 4 hour walks. I know, right? Like
because we have the same passion in the same industry. We're looking to
we've got
grow
a lot of
together.
interests outside of just teeth, right, and dentistry that we actually really like, apart from food as well.
Often meet somebody that has the same interest and has the same passion as you,
or not even maybe the same drive.
Yeah,
the same drive. I think that's really important. I know in my friendship for circles, that's what I look for as well.
I couldn't agree more. And it's a stressful time. We both knew what the industry was doing.
I'm pretty sure we cried for about the first 2 or 3 weeks of that whole period, along with many other business owners out there, people that have sort of built up significant roles in business. It was a really uncertain and hard time.
It was.
And we didn't know what was going to happen.
Exactly right. Let's go into, the whole time of the pandemic with you work at two different
practices, yes.
Is it practices or surgery?
Oh, practice, surgery, you can call them both.
I sometimes call them salons.
Don't say that to anyone at the
Dr.
ADA.
Fadi said the same thing. He's like, do not call it a salon. Let's go into that.
Yeah.
Like, what happened with the whole entire pandemic? I know, but I'd love everyone else to know.
You know, the week before the pandemic was the 25th of March. It was a Wednesday. I never forget it.
Either.
Right, that was actually my birthday that day, and I'm pretty sure it was probably one of the saddest days because the pandemic had hit really hard.
Yep.
I was following, obviously, guidance by the Australian Dental Association at the time, but we were also watching what was happening in America as well. And America got hit pretty hard first, and we were watching fairly significant sort of dental practices shutting down, and we just thought to ourselves, wow, like, we're going to shut down, this is it. And we had to sort of stand everyone down. And we did. We went through this spiralling time of what's going to happen. We were uncertain. I was upset. I think as a fairly authoritative figure in business in the practices that I'm in, you almost felt a little bit of a sense of responsibility for the staff that you've also got working with you as well and what's going to happen to them. And of course you worry about yourself too and how you're going to make it through. It was hard. It was really hard. I can't sugarcoat it. I was sad. I was stressed. Yeah. You know that. You felt the same way.
I was exactly the same.
It took about a week or two to get my head around it and actually give myself a little bit of time to come to terms with what had happened. Then once I started to realise that it wasn't the end of the world and we would slowly navigate our way out of it, I was all of a sudden filled with a bit more clarity.
Yes.
Okay. I also found that leading up to March, I was this mouse on a running wheel. I was running, trying to get all this work done. I had a bit of a rocky start to the start of the year. Yes. I lost my parent, a dad, and that was hard. And I didn't even allow the time to grieve. And so I stopped and I was in this big well of no work. I've lost a parent, which, in a Greek family is really important to me.
I'm so sorry.
I couldn't fly back to Adelaide, my hometown. I was completely locked out of the state. And I thought, wow,
and
what am I going to do?
Does your mum know how to use Zoom?
My mum is a beast on Facebook, Instagram, and Zoom.
That's amazing.
She is amazing. She frustrates me and annoys me with Zoom at least 3 to 4 times a day.
Fantastic.
It's unbelievable.
We love that.
So we love that. That's good. That's a sign of love. So, it was hard. But then once I got my head around it, I got filled with clarity and I started to do things that I didn't have time to do before.
Yes.
I started to get out in nature. I started to read. I started to again, upskill on the skills that I already had again. I started to sort of do a bit of an audit and an inventory of my life, and I thought that was really important.
Yes.
There were things there that I sort of forgotten about. And I went, no, I'm going to get back to basics and go back to what's really important. So we found ourselves in May opening the practice again, obviously once we had been given the all clear. And all of a sudden, I was filled with this bit of ignition.
Sorry, were you back full-time in May?
Yes, actually, surprisingly, yeah. So I planned for worst case that it'd be a bit dribs and drabs. The minute I got the all clear, it was like the floodgates had opened.
Yes.
Because what we had done is we had cancelled and rescheduled all these people to July. Right, we didn't know. We just took, sort of took a worst case scenario perspective and then brought them all forward in May.
And were you, so over the coronavirus, because the Dental Association...
During the shutdown period?
Yes.
Yep.
They were only able to do...
Emergency style dental treatment. Okay, so typically what I do on a day-to-day basis is not classified as emergency. So I actually had a 6 to 7 week break, if you want to call it that. I believe you never really switch off from work.
Never.
Well, I don't anyway. Other people might in my position, but I don't.
We definitely don't.
It's not so much balance, it's more harmony. I've always called that. I need to balance my personal life with work, but in a harmonious type way.
Do you find over the coronavirus that actually helped you?
In retrospect, now I did. At the time, I thought it was disaster, but I think you go through those stages.
Yes.
It's normal. I've done a lot of reading into it. It's normal to go through those stages. It's
coming back out of the coronavirus, has it a lot changed before because you're running on the treadmill as a mouse?
I've slowed down a little bit in terms of how I address and prioritise and deal with things. So my priority's better.
Yes.
I've also learnt to take time out. Before I wasn't taking time out at all, right? Now, again, I go back on saying I don't really ever switch off, and that's still true, but I know when to go, okay, just put it down for a second, right? don't feel guilty taking that hour walk, or don't feel guilty taking that hour break and not reading or learning about something. I've learned that there's actually a lot of benefit in doing that and letting things mature and happen as they need to. If you've put the groundwork in already, things will flourish as they need to, provided that you set a good base for it.
I could not agree more. We're going to hold it there. We have so much to talk about, and I love talking with you. So let's hold it there.
Are you wanting a dramatically whiter smile? If you're a coffee drinker or a lover of red wine, then Sparkling White Smile's premium ultra white treatment is for you. The ultra white treatment consists of 2 sittings 1 week apart. This headlining treatment is tailored to leave your teeth up to 14 shades lighter post-treatment. For bookings and inquiries, send an email to info@sparklingwhitesmile.com.au. That's info@sparklingwhitesmile.com.au.
We've been obviously talking about the coronavirus, and
what else is there to talk about right now?
I know, it's crazy what's happening, isn't it? But you and I have been wearing masks for years, and do you know what's actually quite funny? I used to forget that I was wearing my mask. Yep. And people would stare at me in the street, and I'm like, what are they looking at? But
do you want to hear something embarrassing? I've gone into shops where I put my mask down under my neck, and then I've gotten changed at the end of the day, completely forgotten about it, and I've walked all around like the CBD with a mask still hanging off my face.
That's honestly me. I used to think, why are people staring at me, but it's sitting down here? You just get used to wearing them all the time. So for us, it's not actually too
big deal.
Yeah. But what are your thoughts on all the human rights issues coming through?
You know, it's really interesting. I mean, why do we wear masks, obviously, in our profession? I don't want to get my patients' germs. They don't want to get mine. Okay, I'm sitting, 30 centimetres away from somebody's face, and I'd prefer my patient not to look up my nostrils as well. Obviously that would be much better. Of course. However, it really frustrates me, the whole human rights movement at the moment with whole wearing a mask is possibly infringing on our human rights. I don't think it is.
I couldn't agree more.
What upsets me is that we've got this pandemic at the moment, which isn't great. We're all hating it. No one's enjoying being stuck in this coronavirus
but we're all
issue
in
at the
together.
moment. But we're all in it, absolutely. And it has been scientifically proven that by wearing a mask, you're going to reduce that respiratory type spread. Now, we've proven that. Wearing a mask is not going to infringe on your rights. We're trying to do our best to mitigate and minimise what's actually going on. Businesses that are actually saying you need to wear a mask or you actually can't come in, they've got a duty of care to their other patrons, to the staff that are working in there, to try and reduce infection spread. And it really frustrates me when there are people out there that just don't want to wear them. I can't help but feel personally, and I'm going to be really honest here, that some people who don't want to wear them almost are trying to not conform to the rules that are required, almost for notoriety. And I just think it's really sad.
I couldn't agree more. Let's all work together.
And then people will often go, but I've got a right to do whatever I want. I don't actually believe you've got a right to do whatever you want actually exists. There's a great saying that somebody once said, and it said that the right to swing your fist ends at the start of my nose. In other words, every right is conformed by or constrained by a different right. You can't just do whatever you want in this world. You've got freedom of speech and do certain things, but up to a level.
Up to a level. You can't just go through a red light when you feel like it.
To be black and white, just wear the mask.
So easy.
Wear the mask. Let's get this done. Let's get over it.
Exactly.
So we can go back to our lives. So I can travel back home and see my family. So we can travel and have a holiday.
You're coming in my suitcase this weekend.
Oh, I'm so jealous you're going to Adelaide this weekend.
I'm going to go past your mum's house.
You should.
I am.
You should.
I'm just going to go have coffee with her.
You should have a coffee with her.
No, I could not agree more. It's pretty horrific. Even that girl. Did you see that girl that wouldn't pull down her window?
Exactly. But even people that aren't taking sort of quarantine laws seriously, or they're not taking isolating laws seriously. We've got a problem on our hands. No one's enjoying this, so let's just do it.
Yes.
Because the long-term, I'm genuinely concerned about the long-term effects here.
And I was also talking about the long-term health effects. Everybody that has cancer right now, everybody that has even a little skin, they're not going to the doctors because they're too scared to go.
Exactly.
Because they're thinking about the coronavirus. What is going to happen after the coronavirus?
That's
there's so many
people are already scared,
issues.
And the people that don't take things seriously, I'm sure they would feel very different if it was one of their loved ones who was maybe immunocompromised or who was ill, somebody going through cancer treatment, or an older loved one. They would feel incredibly different about it.
Couldn't agree more. It's horrific. The people just need to work together
and get it
on
done.
with it. Yes.
I just say, just get it done.
Get it done. That's
Get
our
it done.
motto to everything. Just
Wear
do
your
it.
mask, Victorians. Get it done.
Just do it.
That's
I'm
it.
actually going down. It's really a bit funny. I'm going down to Adelaide. Sorry, I'm not going down to Adelaide. I'm going down to Albury,
Yes.
opening up a new franchise there.
Okay.
And it's been probably about 6 months, this franchise to go
Mm-hmm.
ahead with, because I didn't want to start the franchise when all the borders were closed.
Right.
And she's on the border. So it's like Shepparton and then Albury.
Yes.
So she's kind of covering half Albury, half New South Wales.
Yes.
And I was like so making it clear that she had a permit to work on both sides, that we were allowed to come down, everything, because I just don't want to go there, and I don't want to do it on her sake, that it's going to be an issue for both of us, and it's too much of a problem.
Absolutely.
So she's been able to, she's actually had approval to work on both sides.
Great.
It's actually really good, and she's ready to start. But I'm just like at the point where I'm like, let's hold back another 2 months. It's no hurry.
Yeah.
It's not a hurry anymore. No one's in a hurry to start. No
Yes.
one's in a hurry. Let's make everything.
I think
Yeah.
that's a really wise decision. It's an uncertain time for everybody right now. And anybody
agree.
that says, no, it's a certain time, well, that's probably rubbish. It's really uncertain. Figures and stats are changing daily.
Yes.
And, look, Victoria blew us out of the water. We just didn't even know.
700 last time.
723.
Yeah.
There was 600 and something today.
Another 600 today.
600 today. So
I haven't actually seen the news.
620 something.
Wow.
More deaths.
Yeah.
It's a scary time. We know that the virus doesn't discriminate. We've got a problem on our hands. I'm really hoping that most Australians, if not everybody, are going to try and do their part
Yeah.
to curb it. And that's all that matters right now, so
Even-
we can move ahead.
Even with me going down to Adelaide, I am going to be going to help one of the
Yes.
franchises to do the jobs. And I wanted to make sure that every single client that I was personally going to knew that I was coming from New South
Sure.
Wales. And if anybody wanted to cancel because I was coming
Yeah.
there, that was in their best interest. But I
Yes.
wasn't going to get there and be like, surprise, I'm from New South Wales. And then I have, these clients feeling
Who could possibly feel a little bit,
So I
sort of
think
upset about
people
it.
need to advise them where they're coming from, what they're doing, and just be completely
I think
honest.
transparency
Yes.
is the word that you're looking for, to
Yeah.
be really transparent with what you're doing. If you've got clearance to do that, then that is totally
Yeah.
fine. But if you don't have the clearance, then you don't do it.
Yeah,
And
couldn't agree more.
obviously using your own discretion as well.
No, that's exactly right. I think it's just you're telling them what you're doing. You're coming from, this is where you're coming from. I've had the COVID test. I'm completely cleared. And you
Right.
know, as long as I had a cancellation, I said, if they're not comfortable, please I would rather take someone else there, and I'm not going to go.
I think you can
Yeah.
take that attitude in all aspects of business, though. And
love
I
it.
think, you just
Yeah.
said just now about being honest, and I said about being transparent.
Yeah.
People often ask me as well, how do you make things work in the surgery? How do you maintain your business? How do you
Yes.
maintain your clients? It's about, you need to do the job, but you need to also be transparent and honest with them, and you need to be authentic
Yes.
with what you're delivering. It's really important.
everything. Everything in business. It's not just the teeth whitening.
Yes.
It's from the start to exactly the finish. And they need
Absolutely.
to feel that they are 100% understanding of what they're doing.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get into, I would love to hear your whole background in how
Yeah,
dentistry
right.
all happened and ended up becoming an
It almost feels like a blur because it was a very, very long time ago. Look, I come from a family. When I say a family,
Yes.
I've got two older brothers that are both dentists. One of them married a dentist as well. Like,
It's just
not
in
a
the
very
family.
not a very smart thing. I did say to my parents, it would have been good if we had a lawyer or an accountant, or like we diversified, But anyway, so anyway, my parents, no, they weren't professional. So we're all sort of,
So your mum and dad are dentists as well?
No, they're not professional. So my grandparents were migrants, and we had hospitality businesses in Adelaide at the time, and that's where my parents sort of fell into it as well. And so they were relatively uneducated, and my parents really pushed back in the 80s as a form of, you've got to go and get an education. It was a very standard, typical Greek upbringing where you must go to university. Okay, my brothers went through it. I went through it. I remember as a young child, my grandmother saying to me, what are you going to be when you grow older? A doctor, a dentist, or a lawyer? That was it. That was the only three options. And I was like, well, I don't know, right? And so anyway, I just fell into dentistry. And
Sorry, what? How many years do you have to do to be?
I did Bachelor of Oral Health at Adelaide Uni, and that was 3 years. And then I did
3
another
years.
year after that of honours. So
Okay.
it was, it was a great time of my life. I loved it. But I was also working in a dental practice at the time, and I was keeping my, sort of my hand on the pulse at all times. But again, when I graduated, there was no break. I never forget, I graduated the last week of November, and I was working in a practice
7
or
days.
2 practices straight away the following week. There was no downtime.
It's just naturally you, though.
That's
in
also
your
me.
blood,
That's also me. I wanted to, hurry up and graduate and make some money. I was 21. I wanted to save a deposit and buy a house. And again, that's another Greek thing probably that was inbred and ingrained into me that I had to do that. And I've got no regrets. At the time, I thought to myself, it's not fair. Why have I pushed myself so hard, or why have my parents pushed me? I did think that at the time. There was a moment there. And then now looking back at it, I was like, wow, that was the best thing that I ever did. Uni was great, but it's funny because I thought I knew everything at uni. And then when I started working in a dental practice or with a paying customer, I quickly learned I knew absolutely nothing. Zero. Yeah. I was a great student, and that was all fine.
Did you get top?
Yeah, I got a scholarship at Adelaide Uni. I did really well, duxed my years. Studying was never an issue for me. I did really well, my HSC at the, all the way back in 2003.
Don't tell everyone.
But yeah, well, it's okay. Nothing to hide. But, I did learn very quickly that it's not about being a good student. It's about being a good people person.
I agree.
You need to obviously have the clinical skills, yes, but you will not survive in any business if you don't have good soft skills. And that's something that uni didn't teach.
Yes.
Uni did not teach soft skills at all.
They don't. Know. You can't teach personality.
I never forget the first day of work. My older brother, who was working in the practice, he owned the practice that I started working in a couple of days a week, pulled me aside and said, don't think you know everything, Maria. You know absolutely nothing. And I remember I was in tears. I was in tears on my first day going, it wasn't meant to be like this. But he was a real tough master, and he taught me how I am now. Yeah.
You'll thank him.
I thank him constantly, and he knows it, but I don't tell him that much because he might get a big head. He's an older brother, right? So he's already got one. He's still in Adelaide, yep. So anyone who wants an Adelaide dentist, Dr. Michael Lucas. And I've got 2 brothers, Dr. Nick Lucas. They're great. But they taught me very much so. I'm not trying to be biased here. They taught me who I am now.
Yes.
I attribute a lot of my success to my initial learnings from them. And then I spread my wings.
How much older are they to you?
Michael is 17 years older than me, and Nick's 15.
When did you move to New South Wales?
Okay, I moved to New South Wales when I was 24, about to turn 25. So that's, 9, almost 10 years ago.
Yep.
And look, I moved because I felt like it was time to spread my wings. I was working a couple of days a week in the family business, a couple of days a week in rural practice up past Barossa Valley, and that was probably some of the best days of my life. I was open slather there. I learnt so much.
Was that through your brother as well?
Funny enough, no. So it was a different guy, but he actually went through uni with my brother and actually needed somebody out there. And so he was an incredible boss and would probably have me back any day, still ask me, please come back, please come back. That was great, but that really taught me to sort of really stand on my own feet out there as well. There was a lot of, so it's very different doing dentistry on sort of like a farming audience, a country audience. Their dental problems are a lot more complicated.
What are their dental problems?
Oh, look, a lot of these kids, didn't have fluoride in the water, sometimes a lower socio-demographic as well, so that brings on a whole lot of other health issues too. And so generally, like I said, their dental problems are a bit more complicated, a little more complex. So I could sort of do whatever I wanted, and it was great. That's where I learned. And so then at the time I started getting itchy feet, and then I applied for a job over in Sydney, and I thought, look, if I get it, great. If I don't, I don't. And I got it, and I went, oh my God, I got it. And then I had to hand in resignation to my family, which was probably the worst day of my life, but I did it. And then I moved over and just went, okay, let's give this a crack. And then things naturally sort of just flowed on and grew and grew and grew.
Are you still at the same place now?
Funny enough, yes. So I'm still at the same place.
Loyal.
Yep. And then I built on from that, and I ended up at another practice in Double Bay, and it's been amazing ever since.
And that practice is now growing as well.
Yep, that's growing too. So we're opening and launching a brand new practice in a couple of months' time, and we're really changing the face of dentistry there. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I have seen it from the front. It is incredible.
Yeah, it's a massive project.
Yes.
It's driven by 2 incredible team members as well, with a lot of insight and a lot of innovation backed behind them as well. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what we're going to do in terms of changing the typical type of dental practice, because it won't be that.
No, it won't. It's going to take dentistry to a whole different level.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. Dentistry is not so clinical anymore.
No, it's not clinical. Look, there's a clinical aspect, don't get me wrong, we're still doing dentistry, right?
Of course.
But we're making it a destination.
Yeah, and like so many people are actually scared to go to the dentist, believe it or not.
Yeah. I deal with that every day. We were just saying, if I had $1 for everybody that said to me, I'm scared to come in and see you, I hate coming to the dentist, I wouldn't have to work anymore.
You'd be retired.
I'd be retired by now. But I made it sort of my personal mission to actually change that, right? I actually rather enjoy. I love it when a patient comes to me. I can't believe I used to hate coming and now I love coming to see you.
Yes.
And going to the dentist actually isn't that bad. It's often people's misconceptions or horror stories from maybe 10 or 15 years ago.
What is it? How do people have that misconception?
I think a lot of people are possibly scared by stories or especially, and this is really funny, the most phobic patients I have are the baby boomers, so 60s and 70s. Yeah. They're quite scared. They had bad dentistry when they were in their 30s and 40s. Yep. We've all heard the story of a dentist with their knee on somebody's chest pulling out a tooth. Like it's a crazy story because I'm still yet to see it after all these years. I hear about it all the time, but I'm still yet to see it. But I think changing those misconceptions are really, really important.
I think it is starting to change though.
It is changing. Yeah. And like I said, though, a lot of it comes down to being a people person as well, though, taking time. And you can put that into any context, not just dentistry. You can put it in as a real estate agent. You can put it in as a doctor, as a lawyer. You need to get to know your audience. If you don't know your audience, you're not going to be successful.
And social media has helped with the dentist side of
absolutely.
things.
I mean, social... What does it do? It helps me on Instagram, for example, to showcase some of the interesting stuff that we do, some of the pretty stuff, some of the stuff that people think is cool. Of course, there's a big aspect to what I do that's very confidential. Sure. A lot of people don't want to show their mouths, especially people with quite horrific sort of dental diseases, and I don't often. That's not the angle that I've decided to go with. Yep. A lot of people know me within the community for trying to fix those problems, and that's great, and I'm happy with that, but I don't showcase all the gory stuff. I will probably put online the pretty stuff.
Yeah, and you put on health stuff as well.
Yeah, and I'm very much about holistic health as well, and systemic health, and I've often say to patients, healthy mouth, healthy body. We do our two most important things via our mouth. We breathe and we eat.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got, open airways to the rest of our body, and then we've got, a complete communication to our digestive tract.
Yep.
If your mouth isn't healthy, you are running risk of opening yourself to other health problems.
How often do you think that you should have your teeth cleaned?
It really varies.
It does.
It really does. People ask me this a lot. Anybody low risk should come in at a minimum of every 6 months.
Yep.
Anyone with a high risk, you've got gum disease, you've got underlying medical conditions, or you've had a lot of dental work, coming in every 3 months.
Well, you did mine, it was 2 months ago?
About 2 months ago, yeah.
Oh, God, I felt fresh after. Yeah. But I do it every 6 months.
Yeah, and I think it's important, to stay on top of it. If we service our cars, if we regularly, if we go and get our nails done regularly, if we go and get our hair, if we go and get a blood test to see what's happening inside our body, then why not do it for our teeth?
Exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. I actually could not agree more. So with the Instagram, are you only... so obviously I already know, but with your Instagram, you are more just promoting yourself, not your practice. Is that correct?
Okay, on my personal one, I do myself,
yes.
but everybody knows where to find me as well.
Yes.
And I work with some amazing clinicians of whom I constantly recommend.
And
when
they're
people
amazing.
Inquire and they DM me and I shoot them through. But a lot of our referrals as well are based on word of mouth. And so in terms of building brand loyalty, I probably don't do that as much online. My brand loyalty is created within the practice itself once you've come in and seen me.
No, it's true.
There is still an element that we are a medical practice, and a lot of what is said is between the walls of obviously the dental surgery. That's normal. So we showcase the interesting stuff on Instagram, but the loyalty is probably driven and the culture is driven by what I do inside the surgery. And I'm pretty hot on that. I love word of mouth. Marketing's really important, don't get me wrong. We all need new leads. It's a part of, life. Yeah. But the best, as you know, the best form of marketing is word of mouth. If you produce and deliver a good service, you'll have returning customers coming back and back and back.
I could not agree more.
Yeah.
Before we have to leave, because it's our time with you and
our time just flies.
It goes for 4 hours normally. what's for the future for you? Where is it going?
Okay, so at the moment, my head's down in obviously building on what we have, building the culture, moving into this brand new practice in a couple of months' time. That's taking up a lot of energy and a lot of effort, and really sort of throwing myself into that.
Yes.
What else is on the cards? Look, I'm involved in a lot of things, sort of personally. Dentistry is not my only hobby.
Yes.
I'm involved in a few other sort of side businesses and sort of investing and all that. So I like to keep a real holistic view on my life, but just growing and growing and growing,
so
getting
incredible.
through the pandemic, making dentistry amazing and going from there.
Good on you. Honestly, I'm so proud to have a friend like you.
I think you need to be strong, Alison. You need to be strong. You need to be resilient.
Yes.
And you need to push forward. You need to drive it.
That's us.
That's us.
Thank you so much, girlfriend.
My pleasure.